Pokemon Diamond and Pearl were the first main series games to be released on the Nintendo DS back in April of 2007 when I was just 4 years old. They're some of the few Pokemon games I've never had the chance of fully playing through and never really gave the time of day, since Pokemon Platinum is essentially just a more polished version. But I don't think it's fair to write them off without fully experiencing them for myself. I want to explore every location, battle every trainer, collect every item, and of course, catch every Pokemon in the Diamond and Pearl Pokedex. But not just any Pokedex, a living dex. In total, there are 151 Pokemon. However, Manaphy is unobtainable in these games, so we'll be skipping out on it, meaning we need to collect 150 individual Pokemon. There's a counter on the left side of the screen that will update each time I catch something new, but only when it counts towards the living dex. If you're confused on what a living dex is, well, get in line. Basically, it means instead of having just an Infernape, we need to own each individual evolution, so I would need a Chimchar, a Monferno, and an Infernape. This journey was an emotional roller coaster and is filled with some of the best and worst luck that I've ever had. So without further ado, I present to you my complete journey to create the Pokemon Diamond Living Dex. We begin this challenge in our room and head outside to one of Pokemon's most iconic scenes, and make our way over to Lake Verity. We're attacked by some Starly, and I choose Chimchar as my starter, giving us our first Pokemon for the Dex. We'll need to trade with another copy to get the other two, but that's something we'll have to deal with later. Professor Rowan doesn't seem to mind us using these Pokemon and tells us to stop by the lab in Samgem Town. But before I can do that, disaster struck. My very first wild encounter of the game, I run into a full odd shiny Bidoof. This is a 1 in 8,192 chance, and with my thousands of hours of Pokemon experience, I've never ran into a full odd shiny before getting Pokeballs. It genuinely hurts my soul not to be able to catch this, but I couldn't bring myself to kill it, so I inevitably end up running away. And let me just say, this is not the last of shiny Pokemon you'll see in this video either. We meet up with the professor in his lab, and he lets us know that we can keep the Chimchar and gives us the Pokedex. I then head into the mart and buy some Pokeballs and quickly catch Bidoof and Starly. Now, this is where my playthrough differs a lot from your average Sinnoh journey. Instead of using the boring Staraptor Garchomp team that everyone uses, I decided to transfer 6 shiny Pokemon over from my Platinum copy that I hunted using the Poke Radar, aside from the Dragonair, which was soft reset in the Heart Gold at Game Corner. Unfortunately, I don't have the footage for them because I literally just got this capture card, but I do have some of them saved in my Snapchat memories, which I'll quickly put on screen now. Anyways, with the team traded over, it's finally time to make some real progress. After a quick catching tutorial, I grabbed myself a Shinx. Kricketot is available here too, but not until nighttime, so we'll have to catch that later. I'm not going to be changing the date and time at all during this playthrough, as it will mess up the Honey Tree encounters, which you'll soon realize are very important. We then arrive in Jubilife City, where we deliver a map to our rival and grab all the items we can find. After talking to a few clowns and receiving the Pokédex, I quickly head west and grab the Old Rod and reel in a Magikarp on Route 218. East on Route 203, our rival challenges us and we make quick work of him before trying our luck at catching an Abra. There's about a 25% chance to catch it with each Pokeball I throw, but its encounter rate is only 10%, so I expect her to be here for a little bit. Luckily, after about 15 minutes, the second Abra I found decided to stay in the Pokeball. I then make my way through the Oreburgh Gate, where we collect the Rock Smash HM along with 2 more new Pokemon, being Geodude and Zubat. In Oreburgh City, the gym leader appears to be missing, so down into the mines we go, where we're able to grab ourselves an Onix. It's now time to take on the first gym leader, and despite being a little disobedient, our Golden Weasel is able to make quick work of Rourke. Before returning to Jubilife, I make sure to stop by Route 207 and grab him a Machop. With the Coal Badge, we can now use Rock Smash outside of battle, and in the basement of the Oreburgh Gate, we can grab a Psyduck at a 30% encounter rate as opposed to the 2% in Ravage Path. We then head back to Jubilife and take care of some Galactic Grunts, and then head north to Route 204 where we can catch a Badoo. After taking down a Bug Catcher, Nidoran evolves into Nidorina, but I can't get the Moonstone until Eterna City when we can get the Explorer Kit. Also, just to be clear, this team does not count towards the living deck, so despite there being a Weasel on my team, the dex total will not change. Once in Floraroma Town, I collect all the items and berries and then head back to quickly catch a Kricketot, as it is now nighttime in game. I then head over to the Windworks where we can add Pachirisu, Shellos, and Weasel to the dex total. We then beat up a few Team Galactic grunts and are rewarded with the key to the Windworks. Inside, we find Mars, whose Perugly is usually quite difficult, but thanks to Nidorina's newly learned double kick, she falls without issue. I then purchase some honey and try our hardest not to point out this man's insane receding hairline and spread it on the 3 trees we have access to thus far. All I wanted for my first day was to be able to slather the trees before bed, so I decided to call it a night after doing so. I woke up early on day 2 and the first honey tree had a cherubi, which was a very nice find as it's one of the rarer honey tree Pokemon, and the second tree also had a cherubi, which is fine since I'm going to need 2 for the living dex anyways, but I didn't expect to dupe up after only 2 trees. The final tree had a Silcoon, which was a bit unfortunate as we can easily get one in the upcoming Eterna Forest. After reslathering the trees, I finished taking down the trainers and collecting all the items on Route 205, and we finally arrive at the Eterna Forest. Inside, we team up with Cheryl and are able to catch a Wurmple and 2 Buniri. Murkrow is available here too, but not until nighttime, so we'll come back and get one later. We then exit the forest and I head straight over to the gym as I need to fix the disobedience problem with my Pokemon ASAP. For some reason, Pokemon over level 10 will not obey you until you have 2 gym badges in this game, so I quickly take care of the trainers and it's time to challenge Gardenia. This battle was very difficult, but finally we're able to take her down, earning the 2nd gym badge and allowing Pokemon up to level 30 to do as we say. Afterwards, we collect the Cut HM from Cynthia and the Explorer Kit, which we used to go down underground. I won't show much footage from down here because most of the mining is on the bottom screen, but do know that I was able to collect a Thunderstone, 2 Firestones, 2 Skull Fossils, and a singular Moonstone which I used to evolve Nidorina into Nidoqueen. Afterwards, I stopped by Route 211 to grab a Chingling and a Meditite. Just east of here is Mount Coronet, and we need to get a Cleffa here, but it has a spawn rate of only 5%, so I expect to be here Oh, well that works too. It's time for another boss battle, and this time it's with Jupiter, but with our newly evolved Nidoqueen and some help from Eevee, we're able to take care of her skunk tank. I make my way back to Eterna Forest to collect some items, and inside the old chateau we can grab a Ghastly. As thanks for us taking down Jupiter, this old man rewards us with the bicycle, which is super convenient considering next stop is to head down Cycling Road. Just before though, there's a researcher who gives us the EXP share, which is going to be essential for all the high level evolutions we're going to need to grind out. In Route 206's grass, we're able to collect a Ponyta and Stunky before making our way into Wayward Cave. I'm going to skip over most of it as I'm doing it without flash and it's super dark, but just know we helped Mira find her way out of the cave and collected a Bronzor along the way. Also, you may be typing a comment right now with something along the lines of, "Ha, you're such a noob. I can't believe you didn't know about the secret cave entrance where you can get Gibble. Better luck next time. Can't believe you skipped out on such a good Pokemon." Unlike Platinum, there are some strength boulders in the way here, and you can't get Gibble on this upper layer, so we won't actually be able to catch one until we get strength. Afterwards, I catch a Kricketune just outside because apparently you can catch it during the day. Oh well, I won't complain. South of Route 206, we meet up with Lucas, who generously gives us both the Dowsing Machine app and the Versus Seeker, 2 amazing items that we'll end up using quite a lot throughout our adventure. Thanks to the bike, we can now take the path down to Orberg City and revive our 2 Skull Fossils into 2 Cranidos. After depositing them into the PC, my 6-hour timer goes off to check the honey trees, only for me to realize that I only slathered 1 of them. Fortunately, it was a Burmy, meaning it's a new Pokedex entry, but I make sure to slather all the trees we have access to at this point, so we'll be able to get a lot more encounters next time. I can now use the bike to grab the Brick Break TM in the Orberg Gate, and I take down some trainers before heading back to Route 208 to catch a Bibarel. We then say hi to our mom in Hearthome City, and take a walk with our Buniri to grab some important items, including the Amulet Coin. Next, our rival challenges us to yet another battle, but he's still embarrassingly weak, and his team is full of Pokemon who definitely should have evolved by now. We're gifted an egg by this nice hiker, and I figured it would be a good time to increase friendship, so I do some running back and forth before my timer goes off and it's time to check the honey trees again. In total, we're able to grab 2 more Burmy and a Combee, which unfortunately is male, but we'll have plenty of opportunities to find a female one with the amount of trees we'll be checking. As I made my way back to Hearthome City, the egg hatches into a Happiny, which takes care of an otherwise tedious breeding process. And instead of telling you everything that happened on Route 209, I'm just going to show you. I then make sure to clear out the Lost Tower, and inside I'm able to catch a Golbat and 2 Murkrow. Afterwards, we arrive in Solaceon Town, and I make my way through the ruins collecting all the items inside, and I also make sure to catch an Unknown while I'm here. There's no new Pokemon to catch on Route 210, but our Eevee does finally evolve into an Umbreon, which will be super handy going forward. I'm able to battle the rest of the trainers on the route, and a few of them even have Happiny, which allows for some very easy XP to level up our team. By this point, I've been playing for about 9 hours straight, so I decide to end day 2 by backtracking all the way to Floroma Town, so the next morning I'll be ready at the first honey tree to see my encounters. On day 3, I awake to check the trees, and I do find a female Combi, but unfortunately that's it. I of course reslather each one with honey, and then proceed to take down every trainer and collect every item on Route 215. As I'm looking back, I should have caught 2 Kadabra here, but I guess I just forgot, so we'll make sure to grab those later. With the route clear, we arrive in Veilstone City. There's not much to note here other than the gym leader, which I always forget that the gym layout is different here than in Platinum. Inside, our Curlia does evolve into a Gardevoir, which will put in work for this gym. Mayleen's team is no joke though, as she boasts a level 30 Lucario. Luckily, our team is well equipped to deal with her, earning us the 3rd gym badge at almost 18 hours of playtime. We're moving pretty slow, but progress is progress. Afterwards, we take down a couple of grunts to help Lucas get his Pokedex back and pick up the Fly HM inside the warehouse. A small oversight in my team planning is that none of my team members can learn Fly until Dragonair evolves at level 55, so it's going to be a bit before that happens. Anyways, it's on to Route 214 where there are some new encounters for us to grab, but first... Okay, trainers and items done, and with almost an hour of searching the grass and the Ruined Maniac Cave, I'm able to catch 2 Hippopotas, a Graveler, and Girafarig. We quickly make our way over to Route 213 to catch a Remoraid and Wingull before arriving in Pastoria City. I do use one of my heart scales I found underground to teach Floatzel Ice Fang here, and then head inside to challenge Crasher Wake. This gym was actually a bit of a challenge because our Pokemon are gaining too much XP to obey us. But Gardevoir hits a clutch Magical Leaf on Quagsire to earn us the 4th gym badge. Alright, now I'm going to tackle the longest section thus far, the Safari Zone. It took me almost 2 hours to catch all of these because some of them would not stop breaking out and fleeing, but we were able to catch Wooper, Carnivine, Quagsire, 2 Skorupi, 2 Marill, and Azurill. I did cycle through all the binoculars today and we could not find Krogunk, so we'll have to check tomorrow if he's here. Just after that, my 6-hour timer went off and unfortunately there was nothing new in any of the honey trees. The remaining Pokemon needed are Aipom, Heracross, and Munchlax, and while I'm confident we're going to be able to find Aipom and hopefully Heracross too, I can't say the same for Munchlax. I'm going to do my best to continue checking the honey trees as much as I can, but if I somehow manage to finish the rest of the living dex before finding Munchlax, I will end up trading a Snorlax over from Heart Gold and breeding it. After taking a break to hang out with some friends, I checked the trees again and actually got a new encounter, being Aipom. Ideally, I'll be able to find another one as I want to keep breeding to a minimum if possible. Afterwards, I also make sure to grab 2 Kadabra on Route 215. There's another rival battle in Pastoria City, and for some reason, he refuses to evolve his Starly even at level 26, so we're able to take him down very easily. We then chase down one of the Team Galactic Grunts, and afterwards, Cynthia gives us a potion to use on the Psyducks blocking Route 210. Before heading there, I make sure to clear out all the items and trainers on Route 212 and grab 2 Roselia and a Barboach. Once complete, I stop by the Trophy Garden to grab a Pichu and decide to end my day there. Day 4, I pick up right where we left off, catching 2 Pikachu. One of course will be evolved into a Raichu. And of course we can't forget to check the honey trees, and luckily we're able to grab the elusive Heracross and a second Aipom, meaning all we're missing now is just the Munchlax. From now on, I won't be mentioning each time I check the honey trees unless I do find Munchlax, as it's likely going to take many more attempts before we find it. I then used the potion Cynthia gave us to clear out the Psyduck and spend about an hour clearing out Route 210 before arriving in Celestic Town. There's a grunt guarding the ruins, so we quickly take care of him, and some guy named Cyrus shows up. Anyways, Route 211 only has a few things we can do right now, so I take care of the trainers and items, and since today's Sunday, I took some time to fellowship with my family. Later that evening, I got back on and collected a few encounters we missed, being Noctowl, Hoot Hoot, and a second Graveler. Then I backtracked to Hearthome City, and it's finally time to collect the 5th gym badge. Umbreon made this gym an absolute breeze, and the shiny is just so clean. Like, look at him. After obtaining the badge, we now have access to serve, so I spend literally 2 hours going back to every location collecting TMs, random items, and evolution stones. I also make sure to stop by Sinnoh's most forgotten area, the Fuego Ironworks, where we make sure to catch Tentacruel, Tentacool, Finneon, Floatzel, Gastrodon, and 2 Luxio. Inside, there isn't much to note, but we do collect 2 Firestones for evolutions later. Afterwards, we surf through routes 219, 220, and 221, which all lead up to the PAL Park. A lot of people don't even know what the PAL Park is, and it's not exactly in an easy place to access. However, there are a lot of useful items along the way, like the Water Stone and a plethora of trainers too. Also, I was supposed to grab Skuntank here, but I kind of forgot, so that's another encounter we'll need to grab later. With those routes complete, I fly back to Jubilife and then head west to Route 218. After surfing and taking down a few trainers, we can catch Mr. Mime here, which made me realize I totally did not need to catch 2 Mime Juniors earlier. Not long after, we arrive in Canaleaf City. I made sure to drop off one of my Pokemon in the PC before making my way to Iron Island, as I always forget to have an open party slot to receive the egg from Riley, but not before our rival challenges us yet again. Luckily, our team is pretty overleveled for him, but again, this is a living dex challenge and I'll have to do plenty of grinding later, so cut me a little slack for having a fun team to play through the game with. I then sail over to Iron Island, and honestly, clearing out these areas wasn't nearly as bad as I remembered. Probably because I actually brought repels this time, but I was able to get through the whole thing in just about 30 minutes. Riley thanks us for our help with a Riolu egg, and before exiting the area, I make sure to grab the shiny stone and catch a Steelix, which will save us a metal coat and a trade evolution. Afterwards, I went ahead and biked back and forth for a good 5 to 10 minutes to go ahead and hatch the egg now, and then decided to call it a night there and challenge the gym tomorrow morning. I begin day 5 by challenging the gym leader, which I admittedly forgot to press record until Byron's last Pokemon, but oh well. Now that we can use strength, I backtrack to a number of locations, which you will now see compiled into a very short clip. Okay, well, I need to pause here because now we can go into the lower part of Wayward Cave's interest and add Gibble to the collection. I only caught one here because for some reason I thought you could catch Gabite in Victory Road, which is just false, so we'll come back later here to collect 2 more. With that out of the way, we have a conversation with the professor and we're interrupted by a big boom. I head over to Lake Valor to investigate and take down a bunch of grunts, and then make quick work of Commander Saturn. Next up is Lake Verity, where we're able to take down Commander Mars. Afterwards, it's time to start one of the most tedious grimes in a Pokemon game, Feebas. Feebas has a 50% chance of appearing while fishing when in the lower area of Mount Coronet, which sounds great until you realize that only 4 of the hundreds of water tiles will ever have a Feebas. Not to mention the tiles change every 24 hours, so if you wait too long, the tiles will reset and all of your fishing will be for nothing. So cue the fishing montage. Alright, it actually only took about an hour, which really isn't too bad. And also, I really want one with a plus special attack nature, so it will be easier to use Poffins to max out the beauty. So I catch 5 of them before moving on. I make sure not to repel, and I'm able to catch 2 Clefairy here too, one of which will be evolved into a Clefable. A few minutes later, we're able to exit Mount Coronet and are met with a lot of snow on Route 216. In the grass here, I make sure to grab 2 Machoke because somehow I didn't have those yet. After that, I proceed to spend over an hour clearing out Route 217 because we're in deep snow and it took ages to locate all of the hidden items. Shout out to Bulbapedia because without it, I definitely would have missed a lot of these. Once finished with that, I head north and make sure to grab a Medicham, 2 Sneasel, and a Snover before finally arriving in Snowpoint City. Luckily, there aren't many things to do here other than challenge the gym, and for some reason I refused to look up the puzzle answers, so I spent a good half hour sliding around the ice before finally challenging the gym leader whose name I forgot. Also, quick side note, 4 of the 5 Feebas I caught had a sassy nature. That's gotta be like super rare, right? And it was the last 4, meaning we rolled the 1 in 18 sassy nature 4 times in a row. I don't know the math on that, but let me know down in the comments just how rare that really is, or if I'm just yapping. Anyways, Typhlosion carries through the gym with a little help from Gardevoir, earning us the 7th gym badge and allowing us to use the HM rock climb. And of course, you guys know the drill by now, so whenever we get into a gym, we get to do more backtracking. Okay, but seriously, that was pretty much the last time, as there's only like 2 places we need to head back to once we get Waterfall. Now we get to do something called waste an hour and a half, taking down Galactic Grunts. I'm not too upset because we do at least get the Master Ball and release the Lake Trio, but before we can track them down, we need to head up Mount Coronet. And let me just say, this section is definitely the most tedious one in the entire game, in my opinion. There's so many items that we need to collect, and there's so many branching paths that we need to clear, not to mention the sheer amount of Galactic Grunts placed in your way. But despite all of that, we did manage to add Abomasnow, Bronzong, and Chimecho to the collection. And after many more fights, we finally arrive at the peak of Spear Pillar, and guess what? There's more fights here too. At least this one is a double battle with your rival, and he does heal you afterwards, but it's still a bit much. But that also might just be because I've fought every trainer in the game thus far. Anyways, with Mars and Jupiter taken down, it's now time to challenge Cyrus. And I'm not going to lie, this fight actually gave me a challenge. His Weavile in particular actually caused me to use a revive for the first time in this playthrough, but with one last flamethrower from Typhlosion, we're able to take down Cyrus. Finally, it's time to catch this game's box legendary, Dialga. And what a lot of people don't know is that these games started a trend where the box legendary's catch rate is actually nerfed quite a bit, so after only 3 Dusk Balls, Dialga is added to the total. With that done, it's time to track down the Lake Trio. And after biking back and forth for about 30 seconds, Mesprit is on our route, and thanks to repelling with a Pokemon under level 50, we're able to add it to our collection. The other 2 are static encounters, so soon after we're able to add Azelf and Uxie. Route 222 separates us from Sunyshore City, and it's a pretty big one. Chatot is available here, but not during the night, so unfortunately we can't catch it just yet. In Sunyshore City, we collect a few important items like the Thunderstone before making our way into the final gym. Why does the Electric Gym Leader have an Octillery? I'm not really sure, but it's cool, I guess. Once defeated, we've officially collected all 8 gym badges and can make our way towards the Pokemon League. And let me tell you, the route between Sunyshore City and the Pokemon League is a long one, taking over 2 hours, which isn't the worst thing ever, but at this point, I had been playing for about 8 hours straight, and I was really trying to beat the league today, so it seemed to drag on a lot more than it really did. But finally, at 29 hours of playtime, it was time to challenge the Pokemon League. Wait, what? Okay, hopefully you guys didn't really fall for that. Of course I healed before this fight, and it's not like he's much of a challenge anyways. However, there was a much bigger mistake I made that you'll soon realize during the Elite Four. Aaron wasn't particularly difficult considering his team is made up of bug types, and Bertha wasn't too much trouble either considering her team had some quad weaknesses to water. But it wasn't until Flint that I realized I forgot to replace our Zubat with Umbreon. Yes, I brought a level 6 Zubat into the Elite Four. However, I decided to make the most of the opportunity by giving it the EXP share. I want this little guy to become a Crobat by the time Cynthia is defeated. And also Dragonair evolved into Dragonite, which means it was pretty much useless during the entire playthrough up until now. Anyways, Flint is a cakewalk and we make quick work of Lucian despite not having Umbreon at our side, and our little Zubat was even able to evolve into a Golbat. And now it's time for what is commonly known as the hardest fight in all of Pokemon. Champion Cynthia. Okay, was that a little bit cheap? Yes, but remember, this video is about completing the living dex, not throwing against Cynthia for content. What was nice is that our little buddy Golbat actually evolved all the way into a Crobat, so that's a friendship evolution we will no longer need to worry about. And with a playtime of just under 30 hours, we've officially become the champion of the Sinnoh region. Also, if you're wondering why my in-game trainer name is Kylie and why I'm playing as a girl, basically my mom was going to name me that if I was a girl, and the female trainer looks much better in this game than the guy, in my opinion. Whenever I play as the girl character, I name myself that as that's what my name would have been if I had actually been a girl. Anyways, with that done, I spent about 20 minutes organizing the boxes for the living dex, and honestly, we've made some good progress. The only tasks remaining is to catch the Pearl exclusives, do a bit of breeding, and a ton of evolving. Before calling it a night though, I do decide to take care of a few stone evolutions, adding Roserade, Honchkrow, and Raichu to the collection. And also I stopped by the Great Marsh to see if Krogunk was appearing today, but unfortunately he was not. Day 6, I decided it's time to boot up an old copy of Pokemon Pearl and catch some version exclusives. With that, we're able to add Sudowoodo, Bonsly, 2 Glameow, and head over to the Great March where I can finally catch 2 Krogunk. I then do a bit of mining and restore 2 armor fossils into 2 Shieldon. Now that most of the version exclusives are taken care of, it's time to start on one of this game's hardest Pokemon to obtain. And when I say hardest, I don't mean difficulty wise, I just mean that it takes a very long time. To obtain Spiritomb, you need to interact with 32 players in the underground mining area. And while you could buy 32 copies of the game, there's a much easier way to do this. The game allows you to talk to the same person 32 times, so I'm able to take my copy of Diamond and my copy of Pearl and have them quickly talk to each other. Unfortunately, you do need to go up to the surface and use the Explorer Kit again each time, as the game won't allow you to talk to the same person 32 times on the same trip down. So over the next hour, I got to work. Finally, we're able to catch Spiritomb and add him to the total. Next, I take a quick loop around the map and catch any easy Pokemon I may have missed, during which I grabbed a Silcoon and lots of Wurmple who quickly evolve into Beautyfly, Cascoon, and a Dustox. Next, it's time to boot up my copy of Platinum, which I played through a few months ago where we can catch Palkia. Why am I catching Palkia in this game and not Pearl? Well, my copy of Pearl only has 6 gym badges, and I really can't be bothered to play any more storyline in these games right now after how much we've done recently. Also, I make sure to breed the starters on my Platinum file, so when I do trade them over, we'll get a nice XP boost which will help a ton with training later. So after lots of biking around, we're able to hatch 3 Turtwig, 2 Chimchar, and 3 Piplup. The reason I'm only hatching 2 Chimchar is that we already have one on our Diamond Vital as the starter that we originally chose. Later on, it was nighttime, so I booted up Pearl once again and made my way to Eterna Forest to grab 2 Misdreavus. With the trades complete, I made my way over to Victory Road to evolve 2 Ghastly into Haunter, and then hop back in the Union Room to evolve Machoke into Machamp, Haunter into Gengar, and Graveler into Golem. If you're a keen observer, you might notice that there's another Gen 1 trade evolution that I'm missing called Alakazam. Honestly, not sure how I forgot, but yeah, we'll have to come back and do that one later. With that done, I decided it's time to start training up the starters. So I evolved 2 Turtwig into Groudle and 1 into Torterra. But there's one problem. Just the Turtwig line took almost 2 hours, and Torterra is the easiest one to evolve as it reaches its final stage at level 32. So as much as I don't want to do it, we need to tackle the post game. I awake on day 7 and trade over a Drifloon, as for some reason it just wouldn't spawn even though yesterday was Friday. If anyone in the comments knows why this was an issue, please let me know. Anyways, afterwards we stop by Route 222 to catch a Chatot. Now we head back into Victory Road and take on an area that most of you have probably never heard of. Through this entrance, we're able to team up with Marley and take down a bunch of trainers and collect a plethora of items. You guys know the drill by now, so you can actually find an exit to Route 224 over here, which has even more trainers, some rare evolution items, and even someone with a Metagross, which I thought was pretty cool. With that, it's time to head over to the fight area, where indeed we will be doing a lot of fighting. The main reason for coming here is that the wild Pokemon here are over 10 levels higher than that of Victory Road, which will save a ton of time in the long XP grind we have coming up. I'm able to clear out all the trainers and items in these routes in about 2 hours, and while you're seeing this, I made sure not to catch Heatran here because that's something I plan on saving for an important video I've got planned in the future. I eventually want to complete Pokemon X and Y's Insane Dex with over 700 Pokemon, and laying the groundwork now can't hurt. Anyways, during our adventure, we're able to reel in Wishcash and Gyarados, saving us even more grind time. Eventually, we arrive at the resort area, meaning all routes have been fully cleared. And now with the Super Rod, I fly back to Sunny Shore City and catch an Octillery. With that, it's time to start the massive grind. And while it's definitely quicker than Victory Road, it's by no means fast. And what I'm about to show you is the fruits of a 7-hour straight grinding session. I made an insane amount of progress today, and we are nearing the end, but there are still some high level evolutions, friendship evolutions, and feedbacks that we need to take care of. And yeah, we still have not found Munchlax. Also, I really hope you guys do appreciate that everything done here is real and authentic. I could have easily used an emulator and just hacked in rare candies instead, but I truly enjoyed these games, and as crazy as it sounds, the grinding isn't all that bad either. I was heavily considering streaming stuff like this over on Twitch or even here on YouTube, and next I plan on diving into Gens 5 or 7, so if that's something you guys would like to watch me do live or be a part of, please let me know down in the comments so I can make that decision. Day 8, I awake and start on some hardcore friendship grinding. But after about 15 minutes of biking, I got bored and decided it's time to hammer out the last 2 high-level evolutions. After about an hour and a half, Skorupi evolves into Drapion at level 40, and Krogunk evolves into Toxicroak at level 37. After quite a lot of research into Poffins, I learned that you can buy them in Platinum, saving me days of growing berries, so I trade my Feebas over, feeded a ton of dry Poffins from Veilstone's department store, and we've got ourselves a Milotic. With that, there's only 3 friendship evolutions, Garchomp, Alakazam, and the Munchlax line left for our living decks. I learned that I can simply feed these guys a ton of vitamins to increase friendship quickly, so after that and some more biking around, Chansey evolves into Blissey, and Buniri evolves into Lopunny. Riolu does have enough happiness to evolve, but it won't evolve unless it's daytime, so I'm going to save it for tomorrow. Day 9 is here, and it's the final day of our challenge. A quick level up evolves Riolu into Lucario, and then we stick him in the daycare and hatch another Riolu. I go ahead and trade a Kadabra with Pearl to add Alakazam to the total, and I then use my remaining rare candies on Gamite here, who finally evolves into Garchomp, meaning every Pokemon is done, except for one. Despite all the Honeytree checks, I was never able to get my hands on the elusive Munchlax, so I'll just transfer one over from Heart Gold, right? Wrong. I transferred Snorlax up to Pokemon White 2 when completing the Pokédex for that game, so I don't have one. I had to dig up my old copy of Emerald, and luckily I do have a Snorlax there, so I make sure to transfer it up to Diamond using the PAL Park. Anyways, with Snorlax in hand, all we've got to do is give it the full incense and breed it down into a Munchlax. So after a lot of biking around, we've done it. A complete living dex of Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. But something's wrong. Something's missing. There's something I need to do. The Pokeradar is by far one of my favorite shiny hunting methods, and I think I know just the Pokemon. Quick note while editing, after scrolling through pretty much the entire dex, I realized that it said 149 out of 150, and apparently the Pokemon I forgot to evolve was Mischievous into Mismagius. So I quickly used a Duskstone, and that's why the counter was stuck at 149, but now we have truly completed all 150 Pokemon from the living dex. Well, what do I think? This challenge was genuinely a blast, and I'd recommend it to anyone who's looking for a fun Gen 4 challenge. This isn't the hardest Pokédex to complete by any means, but for my first living dex, I think it was a great choice. Again, I'm highly considering Gens 5 or 7 next, and I'd love to know your thoughts too. Thank you so much to everyone who made it this far in the video, and it genuinely means the world to me. I plan on doing more content like this going forward, so giving this video a like or subscribe to the channel lets me know that you have enjoyed this video and would like to see similar content in the future. And with that, I only have one thing left to say. I hate honey trees.